Okay, moving on to Unit 5, Lesson 6. Now we're talking about slope-intercept form of an equation. And your two objectives for this part of the lesson are to identify the slope and y-intercept of a linear relationship from a graph and or the equation, and to graph a linear equation in slope-intercept form. Okay? Now slope-intercept form, you're going to learn, is the best form of an equation we can have, or the easiest to use for graphing. Okay? I guess I shouldn't say the best form of the equation, but it's definitely the easiest to use for graphing. Anytime that an equation is in slope-intercept form, it's going to make graphing a lot easier once you figure it out. Okay, so let's go ahead and start talking about it. Slope-intercept form is right here. We call it y equals mx plus b. Okay, you will want to memorize that. Y equals mx plus b. And m, the number that goes in, is going to be a number that goes in front of the x, and that is your slope. Okay, and b is going to be some number as well, some constant. Okay, and that is going to be your y-intercept, so where the line crosses the y-axis. And if we know the slope and the y-intercept, it is very easy to graph lines. Okay, and you don't have to do a whole lot of work for it. You don't have to make the whole table of values or anything like that. So here's an example of slope-intercept form. Okay, and I'm going to keep color coding these. So y equals, we'll do 1/2 x plus 3. Okay? So that means my slope is this is what slope-intercept form looks like, first of all. Okay? So my slope is always this number that's in front of the x. So my slope, my m, is 1/2. Okay, again, that's my slope. We learned that variable for m. And then my b, well, I got to think to myself, what am I adding? Okay, because y is always equal to mx plus b. Well, I'm adding a positive 3. So my y-intercept is positive 3. Okay? So again, just from this form of the equation, remember when Mr. Ayers told you that we were writing things in function form? Function form is y equals form. That's what this is in. That you want to start getting used to putting the x term first and the constant second. And here's why. Because we're talking about slope-intercept form. This number in front of your x is always the slope. And the number you're adding is always the y. The y-intercept. Alright? Let's go on to some more examples. Okay, so now we're going to use these kind of equations to find the slope and y-intercept for the equation. So steps. The very first thing we have to do is write in y equals mx plus b form. Okay, so notice it's plus b. So like we told you all along, you'll want to change subtraction to addition first. So I'm going to have 3y equals 4x plus negative 2. Okay? Well, I still don't quite have it in y equals mx plus b form because there's a 3 attached to this y. So now I need to divide both sides by 3. And I get y equals, now remember, these can simplify. This is 4/3 x. Plus, and then these could simplify to negative 2/3. Then we want to find the slope and y-intercept. So the slope is m. So I'm going to put m equals, and again, it's y equals mx plus b, so m is always the number that's attached with the x. Tells you the slope is 4/3. So again, that means that 4 is the rise, and 3 is the run. And then b is whatever we're adding on here. Again, it's got to be adding, so we're adding negative 2/3. So that means that this graph crosses the y-axis at negative 2/3. So again, found our slope, found our y-intercept with the variables m and b. Alright, let's try another example. First thing we do is get it in y equals mx plus b form. So I got to get y by itself. So first thing we're going to do is take away 2x. And this cancels, and I get 3y's equals 6 minus 2x. Okay, then I need to divide by 3. And I get y equals 6 divided by 3 is 2, minus 2 divided by 3 is 2/3 x. Okay? Still not in y equals mx plus b form. I have to change subtraction to addition. So now we got y equals 2 plus negative 2/3 x. And now I got to switch these around so my x term comes first. So it'll be y equals negative 2/3 x plus, and then this 2 is positive, so it's going to be a positive 2. So there's my equation in slope-intercept form. Y equals negative 2/3 x plus 2. So again, my slope is attached to the x, that's negative 2/3. Where we got my rise and my run. And then b is a positive 2 in this case, because we're adding positive 2. Alright, let's keep moving on to more examples. Now in these examples, don't let these throw you for a loop here. Okay, the first thing we got to do is write in y equals mx plus b form. Well, I'm almost there. Y is by itself, but I'm not adding on anything. I see a plus sign. So basically, I just have to make one. This is the same as y equals 2x plus what? Well, I can add 0 to anything, and it doesn't change it. So y equals 2x plus 0. So my answer is already in slope-intercept form. Now I just need to know my slope is 2, and my y-intercept is 0. Now you'll probably want to get used to writing your slopes as fractions. Okay, so 2 is the same as 2 over 1. Because that way we can remember that there's a rise and there's a run. So there's my answer to that one. Okay, here we've got a constant value already, but no x value. So this is the same as y equals, well, how many x's do I have? There's 0 x's plus 2. Okay? So here's the equation in slope-intercept form. So my slope, because I had 0 x's, is 0. And my y-intercept is 2. Okay, and again, we can write this as a fraction as 0 over 1. So think to yourself, what kind of line is this? Well, we know y equals is a horizontal line. It goes this way. And that should match up with our slope, because we know horizontal lines have a slope of 0. Alright, so that's a good self-check you can do. Alright, now let's move on to the graphing portion. You'll see how nice and easy these equations are to work with. Okay, here's your steps for graphing equations in slope-intercept form. I'm not going to read them all for the sake of spending time in the video, but you'll want to pause these and write these down. Okay? And we'll go ahead and show you what these look like on our example for graphing. Okay, so we're actually going to graph two lines here. So the first thing we need to do is get these into y equals mx plus b form. Okay, so first thing is, again, we are going to want to simplify this a little bit. So y equals x divided by 2. Well, you know, I could put a 1 in front of this x. So it's the same as 1/2 x. We got a minus sign there, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. Now we got to have y equals mx plus b, so now we got to change this to addition. Y equals 1/2 x plus negative 4. So my equation is now in slope-intercept form. That means I'm almost ready to graph. But first I need to pick out my slope. My slope I know is 1/2. And again, that means we got our rise and our run. And then my b, my y-intercept, is negative 4. That means that's where it crosses the y-axis. Alright? So now that I've found both of these things, next thing I'm going to do is plot my y-intercept. So I'm going to plot it. My b is negative 4. So that means my y-intercept is 0, negative 4. So I'm going to plot that point. Now I'm going to use my slope to figure out 2 more points on my line. So I'm going to have a total of 3 points on these graphs. So all I'm going to do is rise 1 and run 2. That's what my slope is telling me. I need to rise 1 and run 2. So I'm going to go up 1 and over 2. And that should put me at a new point on my line. And then again, I'm going to find another point by rising 1 and going over 2. There's my third point. Okay? Now, you don't need to show these little loops like this. I was showing them for counting purposes. So now I can go ahead, and if my iPad will let me, I can go ahead and erase those. Oh, not that one apparently. Okay. We'll leave that one. And then we're just going to go ahead and make a straight line with these. Again, you use a straight edge always. Mr. Ayers is going to freehand here. And there's my line. Okay? Using my slope-intercept form. And again, no table of values. Nice and easy and quick to graph. So let's try another line. Okay? Again, I know we've talked about how to graph these lines before really quick and easy, but I want to show you using the slope-intercept form method so we can understand what the slope and the intercept are of lines that look like this. So first thing, y equals mx plus b form. So I've got, I'm going to erase that, sorry. Put it in red here. Got y equals, there's no x's, so there's 0x, and this is a positive 2. So now we're in slope-intercept form, so identify your slope. My m is 0, or 0 over 1. Where we got my rise and my run. And my b is positive 2, which means my y-intercept is at 0 and 2. So I'm going to go ahead and plot that point now. Then, to find the two other points on my line, I'm going to rise 0 and run 1. Well, if I rise 0, that means I don't move up or down. So I'm just going to run 1 and then run another one. And again, you'll see this should match up. It's going to make a nice horizontal line right there. There's my y equals 2 line. So y is always equal to 2. It's a horizontal line. Okay? So again, slope-intercept form. Nice and easy. Easy graphing on these ones. So enjoy.